Breaking tonight, two big stories rocking the U.S. intel community. Just days after President Trump accused President Obama of spying on him, the powerful House Intelligence Committee announcing plans to probe those claims in open hearings. Plus, the CIA is reportedly reeling today after WikiLeaks exposes what it calls the agency's secret cyber arsenal. Here on all of that, Karl Rove is a former advisor to President George W. Bush, and Mark Zaid, a national security attorney who has defended clients ranging from members of Congress to covert CIA officers. But first, we begin with Chief National Correspondent Ed Henry on this staggering leak, we're told, of legit CIA information. Ed?
That's right, Shannon. The scope is breathtaking. The damage to the intel community's credibility may go far beyond previous leaks related to diplomatic cables, because this batch of CIA documents, known as Vault 7, suggests there's been spying on everyday Americans. The CIA using special tools to break into smartphones, computers, Samsung TVs, to turn our technology into listening devices, bypassing encryption on WhatsApp and other messaging services, and tapping into smart TVs even when they're turned off to send recorded conversations to a secret CIA server. A veteran cyber expert told our own James Rosen, quote, "There is heavy bleep going down inside the CIA as they scramble to figure out who gave this to WikiLeaks. No less an expert than Edward Snowden believes it's real," tweeting, quote, "Still working through the publication, but what at WikiLeaks has here is genuinely a big deal, looks authentic." All coming, of course, amid President Trump's charges he faced surveillance. Today, Hillary Clinton's former campaign manager told Fox he had knowledge of wiretaps being used during the campaign, but he suggested they were targeted at Russian officials, not directly at Trump Tower.
The facts are that Trump aides were caught talking to Russian agents, and those conversations were captured because the intelligence community regularly taps the phone lines of those Russian agents.
But pay special attention to this part of the new WikiLeaks story. Another CIA program known as Umbrage is a giant library of cyber attack tactics that they've gathered from Russia and other countries. This program allows the CIA to hide the origin of their own cyber attacks, raising questions, at least tonight, about whether the CIA could have launched some of these cyber attacks last year and made it appear like someone else was behind it all. Shannon?
Very intriguing questions. All right, Ed Henry, thank you very much. Here now, Karl Rove is a Fox News political contributor, and Mark Zaid is a national security lawyer. Welcome to you both, gentlemen.
Thank you.
All right, the CIA
Thanks,
will not comment on the authenticity of these documents, whether they are legit or not. But Mark, that sounds pretty terrifying to the average American when you think they could be watching me through my smart TV even when it's turned off.
Well, I mean, that's true, and I think probably for the average American, they probably are concerned. For those of us who have worked in this arena, whether it's in the tech arena, the legal arena, the intelligence community, there's not really anything that was that new, quite frankly. I mean, we knew of these vulnerabilities for many years, and I think I'll take one somewhat difference with what Ed had said. I don't think there's any indication that I've at least read about so far that the CIA was using this on Americans. Now, American products, yes. And if they were using it on Americans, that's a much bigger and different story. So far, what we know is they were exploiting vulnerabilities in products to do what they're supposed to do, spy on the enemy.
Well, and Karl, the question and the concern for so many people becomes like, yeah, if they're looking at the bad guys, they're going to scoop up innocent people and innocent conversations in this sometimes. Or you walking around in front of your TV not dressed, straight out of the shower. I mean, the possibility for abuse of this kind of technology raises a lot of questions.
Yeah, look, but I agree with your other guest. This is unlikely to have been used domestically by the CIA. I think there are two big issues here. One issue is that if the information is accurate, and I believe it is, then all of our available range of tools have now been laid out there for our opponents abroad to understand their vulnerabilities to our hacking activities. Second of all, the Obama administration had made an agreement that they would notify American companies of vulnerabilities in their software and hardware so that they could, repair those things. And apparently, maybe that wasn't done. Maybe they continued to exploit these weaknesses in an iPhone or a Samsung or some other kind of a phone, so they could gather intelligence from people abroad, but didn't tell the companies involved, you've got a problem with your operating system or a problem with your hardware.
Okay, so Mark, Carl points out that maybe our enemies and bad guys are going to find out some of the methods that we're using to gather intel on them. What about our allies? Do you think that they're going to be worried or have concerns or have issues that they're going to want to now raise with the U.S. government over these disclosures?
Well, some of the documents indicated that we were doing these programs with the Brits, which is usually who we're operating with, New Zealand, Australia, Canada. You know, we don't know, because we obviously, when we get these types of documents, we only have the window into what these documents allow us to see. So Carl's accurate. We don't know whether or not the U.S. government was telling their tech companies of these vulnerabilities. Maybe they weren't, and if they weren't, there'll probably be some issues that will have to be taken up by that, but maybe they were. Same thing with what they were doing with our allies. I presume that they were sharing some of these vulnerabilities with our allies on legitimate intelligence operations. The problem with this leak, because WikiLeaks is not a friend of the United States, this leak now will enable our enemies to exploit vulnerabilities against us. Now, the major countries, Russia, China, you know, those countries are going to have known about these. I'm sure they have their own programs. But the other countries that don't have as much of a robust intelligence operation, or even just the hacker down the street who now has been given some guidance that, like you said, oh, I can turn my neighbor's television on and perhaps watch someone walking by naked. I mean, those are the fears now that I would have, much more so than the CIA watching what I'm doing at home.
Yeah, and Carl, what do you make of this with WikiLeaks? I mean, there are those who say they're exposing things. They're, you know, apparently the source, and they haven't exposed the source here, but WikiLeaks says it was somebody who had access to this information and thought there should be a public dialogue about it. The public should know that these capabilities are out there, that the CIA is using them, and they wanted to spark that conversation. It sounds like a lot of what we heard from Edward Snowden. So WikiLeaks, good guys or bad guys?
Bad guys. I agree with Mark. These are adversaries of the United States. All you need to do is look at the public statements by their major founder, Assange, and he hates the United States, hates our values, wants to diminish our influence in the world. Shannon, you touched on something I want to return to, though, for just a second. You asked about our allies' reaction to this. If I were some of the other major intelligence services that cooperate with the United States today, I'd be saying, is our cooperation and our methods and sources of intelligence compromised? You know, can it be easily compromised? If they lost these gems so easily, maybe they'll lose the other gems in which our sources and methods of intelligence will be similarly compromised and made public.
All right, Carl, Mark, thank you both very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, coming up.